Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I have a 3x performance for you because we are looking at an absolute beast of a device. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Hit it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to look at today is what looks like Dr. AirPods.
Valid.
Also known as a stethoscope, which is quite the name for a device, isn't it?
Act 1. The stethoscope.
But let's break this bad boy down piece by piece to see how it really works. How about that? The first piece that we're going to look at is the chest piece. And the chest piece has two sides, the diaphragm and the bell. Not literally. That's better. So, the diaphragm is the larger side, and it's called a diaphragm because it moves up and down like the diaphragm muscle in your body. It typically has a dish made out of a synthetic polymer or rubber or some other flexible material that is used to absorb the vibrations from the sounds it listens to. And by absorbing these vibrations, it's able to transmit the sound waves up the stethoscope into your ears. It's really good at picking up high frequency, high pitched noises like heartbeat, breathing noises, and bowel movements, especially after eating Long John Silver's, because what the heck is that? Now, if you flip this chest piece over, you find the bell side. Well, this stethoscope is lacking a little bit and doesn't have one, but it looks like this typically. Kind of like the bottom of a bell. Typically, it's more rigid than the diaphragm and it's made out of stainless steel. In this case, the chest piece is a one-sided piece where you press hard on the skin to act as a diaphragm and don't press as hard to use the bell, because the bell is always used to detect low frequency, low pitched noises, meaning you don't need to apply as much pressure to the skin when you're dealing with softer vibrations. And some of the sounds that you might target with the bell include heart murmurs, bruits, aka sounds that indicate a site of turbulent blood flow, and other softer bowel noises. In the case that you choose Ma's Cooking over Long John Silver's, am I right?
Let's go!
Now that we've covered the chest piece, let's take a look at the tubing connected to it. Just like that.
Wow!
Yes, sir. Man, would you just take a look at the material on this baby right here? It's made out of PVC, like those white pipes that your plumbing is made out of. But instead of carrying human waste, this tubing is super duper good at transmitting sound. The sound wave captured by the chest piece enters the tubing and travels up a tunnel of the tubing that is only a few millimeters wide, like this. The sound of interest doesn't leave the inside of the tube, and no external noise gets in. So think of the tubing like a bullet train. It transports the sound picked up by the chest piece all the way up to your ears in a very, very quick manner.
Zoom!
The sound waves will ricochet off the walls of the tubing all the way up to the ears. And the PVC tubing ends when it branches into two paths, one for each ear. This takes us to the final piece of our stethoscope. The ear tubes. At least that's the name I know it by. Alright, let's put this thing in. It takes a little bit more elbow grease, but it'll be a nice snug little fit once you stick it in. Oh, come on. There we go. There, like that. This is a pretty funky looking part. To me, it looks like a tongue scraper connected to earbuds. And honestly, it's not too different than that. Okay. I'll put a little bit more respect on this part. The arc on the bottom of this piece bends the exact same way that a tongue scraper would, except that the bend of this arc is used to make the stethoscope capable of fitting tightly around all types of head sizes, ranging from something smaller like Pinhead Larry, all the way to a larger head size like Pickle Chin Aboy. It's a one size fits all. Now, regardless of head size, the earpiece will fit in tightly to the head of anyone who is wearing them. Typically these earpieces are made of something like rubber or silicone, something soft for comfort, but also excellent for creating a seal in the ear so the target noise doesn't escape and so no external sound waves can get in. Now once these target sounds actually reach the ear, they are received by the eardrum, and eventually these sound waves are going to be converted into electrical signals by a part in the ear called the cochlea. But this video is not focusing on how to convert sound waves into electrical signals and how to recognize sound. That will be a dope idea for another video, but we got to stay on track. Okay. Now you guys see me clowning around using the stethoscope as a microphone, but I can't even tell you how crazy everything sounds when I'm wearing this thing. So I thought I might try to simulate what it sounds like wearing a stethoscope. And although it won't be able to do it full justice, I just want you guys to see how crazy this sounds listening to some of the sounds that you may hear in everyday life and how different they sound when using a stethoscope. So get ready.
Wow!
Well, that's the best I could do to imitate just the craziness that goes on when you listen with the stethoscope to anything. It sounds like, I don't know, what do you think it sounds like? To me it sounds like you're underwater. I mean, everything seems louder and more focused. Well, that's because just like being underwater, sound waves get amplified when traveling through a stethoscope. Because as I said before, target noise does not escape and no external sound waves can get in. So you hear these sounds at a louder and more focused manner than just hearing it normally without the scope. Now, on an additional note, you can use this absolute beauty of a device to figure out so many things that are going on with your body, including being able to analyze, certain heart defects or certain heart abnormalities, or to be able to understand or be able to properly diagnose breathing issues, or being able to understand how to find certain intestinal issues. There's so much you can do. There's so much you can learn about the body and be able to diagnose with the use of this simple instrument. But I am no doctor, so I do not know how to do that. I'm just curious how it works. So y'all better head up a med school if you want to know how to do that type of stuff. So let's move on. Next up, we got this device right here. And boy, if you thought the first device was difficult to pronounce, I do not know what to tell you about the name of this second device right here. For real though. I'll say it slowly. Sphygmomanometer. Sphygmomanometer. The name of this bad boy right here is a sphygmomanometer. And what the heck does it do? Well, for a pretty complicated name, it does one simple task. It allows you to measure your blood pressure. And let's go into it right now.
Act 2. The sphygmomanometer.
First off, I just want to say I'm so proud of this channel that I've gotten to that point where I'm analyzing devices I don't even know how to pronounce or name. That just shows that we're covering some real stuff on this channel, some real crazy complicated stuff. little shout out, a little bit of a milestone right there. So let's just keep covering whatever the heck this thing is named. And for the super complicated name that this device has, sphygmomanometer, it has one simple job. All it does is give you the value of your blood pressure, which just means that it gives the pressure that your blood inflicts against the walls of your arteries. So this device is broken up into three major components. You got the bulb, you got the cuff, and you got the good old pressure gauge right here. So let's get into it.
So the first part of the sphygmomanometer that we're looking at is the rubber bulb. When you squeeze it, it allows you to introduce air into the cuff. And basically when you squeeze it, the air travels through these rubber tubes into the cuff, being able to inflate it. So when I twist this dial right here, allowing me to pump air from the bulb into the actual cuff, this thing puffs up, as you can see right here. It takes a little while, but you can see the cuff inflating. And to deflate it, just turn the dial left and push out the extra air. Just like that. Now this cuff is pretty much a bladder. Not that type of bladder, but a chamber that holds air. The outer layer is made of something durable, but flexible, like nylon. And it can undergo a lot of stretching without damage. But the actual chamber is within the nylon and is made of something like latex. And this is where the inflating air goes. It can be just like a latex balloon, or any balloon for that matter. And as more air is pumped into the chamber, it puffs up. But how do you go from the cuff puffing up to the pressure gauge reading increasing? Well, the air pressure in the cuff is transmitted to the pressure gauge using another rubber tube. Upon entering the gauge, there's typically some little mechanical part like a spring or another diaphragm that undergoes a physical change once the increased air pressure interacts with it. The conformational change in this little mechanical part will then cause the dial on the gauge to move by a certain amount based on the extent of change that the mechanical part underwent. For example, if the spring or the diaphragm was compressed further, it would cause a higher reading on the gauge to show. And of course, the reading on the gauge signifies your blood pressure in units of millimeters mercury. No, there isn't actually any mercury in the device. The units are just called that because it's an old-fashioned unit, but we still use it today. When you're done with the device, as you can see, it's still inflated. It deflates in a very simple way. There's a very small hole at the top of this bulb, so all you need to do is loosen this dial to start deflating the device. And you can hear it hissing, and just keep pressing down, and you see the gauge coming back down to zero again. And there you go, you successfully reset the sphygmomanometer.
Alright, now that we've broken down these two devices, let's see what happens when you put them together. Let's see what you can achieve.
Act 3. Putting it all together.
Thankfully, there's no long name to describe using these two devices together. All you need to know is that when you use a stethoscope and a sphygmomanometer together, you can successfully determine your blood pressure. However, it is a little bit of a complex process, so let's break it down step by step. Okay, so the first step is that you got to make sure you don't eat or exercise immediately before taking your blood pressure measurement, because you don't want artificially high readings. That means no pogo stick jumping, no luge, no Messiah Damu jumping, none of that nonsense, alright? Next, you want to form a loop in the cuff and slide your left arm into it. You want the cuff about 1 to 2 centimeters above your elbow, and you want the rubber tube closer to the inside of your arm, but you should still be able to stick 2 fingers in between your arm and the cuff, kind of like ice in my veins, you know? Then you got to lay your arm on a flat surface and get ready to take that measurement. But before you go crazy squeezing that bulb, you got to know what you're looking for in terms of measurements, because you're going to be tracking 2 types of blood pressure readings: systolic and diastolic. Systolic blood pressure is the first reading you're going to get. Systolic blood pressure measures the pressure exerted on your artery walls when your heart muscle contracts and pumps blood into the arteries. It's going to be the maximum pressure that your heart undergoes during a cycle of a heartbeat. Then, the second blood pressure value you're going to get is diastolic blood pressure, which measures the pressure exerted on the artery walls when the heart muscle is relaxed between beats. This is going to be the lowest pressure value in the cycle. So to know when these values occur, you got to listen for a series of sounds called dun dun dun, choral cough sounds, dun dun dun. They mark the sound of blood flow through the compressed arteries and will appear and disappear while you're taking this measurement. Okay, so now that we know what we're looking for, let's figure out how to do it and get your blood pressure values. Now, you got to slide the diaphragm of the chest piece underneath the cuff towards the inner side of your big, juicy bicep.
Ooh.
It should be directly over the large artery in your arm called the brachial artery. You better lock in and put in those stethoscope earpieces now, because things are about to get real. Make sure the bulb is sealed by tightening the dial and get to squeezing. While you're pumping air into the cuff faster than a pump it up inflating bouncy castle, listen closely for the sound of your pulse. When you can't hear it anymore, stop pumping up the cuff. Now don't worry, you're not dead. Maybe dead inside, but you're not dead. Then start deflating the cuff very, very slowly and watch the dial fall slowly until you can hear your pulse again. This is the court cough sound, which is marking your systolic blood pressure. Note this reading on the dial, and you should also pat yourself on the back for reviving yourself as well. Now, keep on deflating the bulb and watch the pressure dial fall until you can't hear the pulse noise anymore. This is the second sign where you should be looking for your diastolic blood pressure value now, and note that on the pressure dial gauge. And there you have it. You just successfully measured your blood pressure using both a stethoscope and a sphygmomanometer. Alright guys, thanks for waiting for this video to come out. It was an absolute beast of a video because there's 3 parts. But I hope you guys enjoyed. It was a crazy device. I had a lot of fun researching and learning how it works and goofing off. And I mean, really, using this device kind of blew my mind because there's some crazy things when you first put on a stethoscope and how you can use that to understand your body. So I learned a lot about how to figure out stuff in my body, how stuff works, how to find my blood pressure, and I hope you guys learned some cool stuff too. I also wanted to say that I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break from YouTube because I've been going at school and work and YouTube for the past 5 months. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break for maybe a few weeks and then get straight back into it, be all fresh again, and hit you guys with some awesome content. So love you guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and just stay awesome and keep enjoying and keep doing you, and I'll do me.